What's up, everyone? Welcome to the next section. And in this section, we will be jumping into our next relation, which is many to many, right? And if you're a student of database management systems, we all know that for creating a many to many relation, we need a third table, and normally it is called our junction table, right? So without wasting our time, let's jump into, I would say, the diagram and let's see what we will be building today. And then we will come to the Directus Data Studio and we will be building that schema into the Directus Data Studio, which is the fun part, right? So let's come to our Directus diagram. And here you can see that I have created a relation, which we will be mapping today in our Directus Data Studio, right? And this is the famous example in, I would say, database management systems, where we are creating a relation between students and courses. And we all know that one student can opt many courses. And if you look on the inverse side, so one course can also belong to multiple students, right? So for mapping this many to many relation, we always create a junction table in which it is being mapped in such a way that there is one student ID as in column and the other one will be as a course ID, right? Now we won't be creating this junction table by ourselves, but rather we will just tell directors that we want a many to many relationship between these two collections, and directors will take care for the rest of the part, right? And it is, I would say, very much cool feature which is provided by directors. So without wasting our time, let's jump into Directors Data Studio and let's start building our schema, right? So let's go to our Directors Data Studio. Let's go to settings and to our data model, okay? And let's keep the other models as it is, and let's create a new one, which is our this. I would say students collection. Let's go for the primary key for generated UID. Let's go next. Let's create all the system default fields. Let's select, okay, and now we're good to go. And I think the only fields we want for a student is to name and email, right? So I've kept it simple, but again, if you're building a, I would say, learning management system, this might have some extra attributes as well, right? But since we are targeting only many to many relationships, so I'm keeping the attributes as simple as possible. So let's create our field and let's say this is name of our student, right? And apart from that, we are good to go and just make this required because the student without a name is meaningless, right? So let's save this thing. And apart from that, we need another attribute, which is our email, right? So let's create a field and this time it will be input field, but rather I will go with the email part and let's save this for now. And again, you can go further and, validate your emails into that validation part, but I think that's not the agenda right over here. Okay, so I will go with the default options. So we are good to go. And apart from that, I think there is no any other attribute, so we are good to go. And now let's check this out into our content section. So if I come to my content and just let me just collapse all the others, and we're having a students collection right over here. Okay, you can see that. So if you click on this thing and let's create an item, and let's say I'm the first student with name Afaq Javed, and let's call it as afaq@test.com for the email, and let's save this thing and we are good to go, right? So our students records are working fine, right? So just copy, I would say just drag and drop the name column to the first, which will make more sense, right? And yeah, it's working fine. So just delete this record for now and let's jump into our, I would say, the course collection and let's build our course collection, right? So let's go to our settings, our data model, and let's create a collection. And this time it will be our courses, right? COURSES courses. And I'm very bad with the spellings, by the way. So let's generate UID for the primary key. Let's go next and let's select all the default system fields and okay, and we're good to go for now. So let's see what attributes are there. So we are having title and code, right? So for this, just add create field input, and this will be a title of the course, and we will save this thing. And just one thing we're having is the course code, right? So we'll be having code which will be also type string. So let's save this thing as well, right? The only thing I need to do here is to just mark this title as unrequired. So let's go to field and make it required while on creation, right? So save this thing and I think we are good to go, right? So let's check our diagram once more, and yeah, we are good to go for now. And now let's check our course entity as well, right? So if I go to our content and let's select courses right over here. And before going further, I think I can drag and drop and make these two together, right? Since we will be working with them. So you can do that by going to settings and just drag our courses right with our students and just move this to the front. Not here, but the top right over here, okay, uh to the top maybe, okay. And now we are having students and courses all together, right? You can change the icons as well, but yeah, let's move on further. So here we are having our students and our courses, right? Perfect. So we have already checked our students part. So let's check our courses. So let's create an item and let's call it as data structures, right? This is our course, and let's call it as CS001 for now. Okay, and let's save this thing, and we are good to go with the courses path as well, right? Simple and easy. So now just delete the record. Let's delete it. And now let's move on to the fun part where we will be creating our many-to-many relation between our students and courses, right? And I think it is way simple. Directus has provided us with a simple option over here by which you can easily go and build that many-to-many relation, right? And again, it depends on you whether you are targeting from our students collection or from a courses collection. It again depends on you. It also gives you an option by which you can create the inverse relationship as well, right? So let's do that. So let's go to our data model and you can select students or courses, whatever you like. But I will go with the students part and let's create a field. And this time we will be selecting many to many right over here. Okay. And let's click on this and then you have to provide a key, the related collection and all that, right? But the best option is whenever I am creating a many to many relationship, I leave all the things empty and just move into this. I would say continue in advanced field creation mode. Okay. This is because there you will get that relationship section, which will be having a lot more options and visibility by which you can easily understand that what relations are being built under the hood, right? Let me show you that options as well. So if you click on this thing and go into this relationship section, you can see that this is what Directus is showing you, right? So this is our list collection where we're standing, right? Students and students ID that will be pointing to our this junction collection right over here. And then you have to just select your related collection, which will be courses in our case, and it will automatically take care for the junction collection right over here. Okay. So just select over here and just select, since we are in students, so we will be selecting our courses. And right over here, you can see that Directus has filled all the default fields by itself, right? So it will be creating a junction collection, which will be students underscore courses. And the students ID will be pointing to our students collection and the courses ID will be pointing to our courses collection right over here. Okay. And apart from that, I also want an inverse relationship. So since we are creating a relation of students with the courses as a many to many, but as an inverse relationship, we will also be creating a relationship of courses with our students, right? And here you can see that the directors automatically understand that you are talking about a reverse relationship from courses to students. So that's why it is giving that student's name field as well, right? So this is what we have to do for now. And once you are good here, you get the clear visibility of what is happening under the hood while you're working with the many to many relation, right? So once we are done with that part, you can define your relational triggers, which is again what will happen to the scenarios when you will be deleting records. You can change those according to your needs, but I'm good with the default options. So now let's move on to our schema, and here you can provide that column name for which you are creating a many to many relationship, right? So since we are in our students collection, I will be creating a many to many relationship with our courses. So I will be naming that column name as courses, right? So yeah, we are good to go, and let's save this thing, and this will go and create a many to many relationship with your courses, right? So you can see that in a students model, we are having a many to many relationship with our courses, right? Which is, I would say, what we need. And if now you go back to our courses section, and here you can see that we will be having a relationship of students with many to many, right? So this is a two-way relationship, right? And we can go and get these values, from the both sides, right? So that's what we want, right? Now moving on, before we move on, what I need to do is to just give it a display template, because for the first time it's always the IDs which we don't want, right? So in case of courses, let's come to students and let's go to our, I would say, display template, and here we'll be creating our related values. Okay, and then just click on this one and let's go to student ID, and I will set the student name for that, right? And let's save this thing, and I will be repeating the same for the students collection as well. So let's go to students, let's click on courses, let's go to display template, and here I will be selecting our courses and just the title of the course, right? And let's save this thing. Okay, now this will give you a lot more meaningful name rather displaying all that IDs, right? So I think, yeah, we are good to go for now. So we have created our collection student courses, and we Directus under the hood has automatically created our this junction table as well, right? So if you come to our this data model part here, you can see that student underscore courses is separately like a separate table, I would say, or a separate collection, which by default is disabled, because under the hood, we all know that this will be just mapping all those student IDs with the course IDs, right? So we don't need to show this on the, I would say, content section, right? So that's why it is hidden right over here. Okay. So now let's try it out, right? That's where the fun part starts. So let's go to content section and let's create a student first, right? So let's create an item and let's call it as a fork Javed, that's our first student, and let's call it as afaq at the rate test.com. And here you can go one step further, or you can assign the course by creating a new one or add existing one. But for now, let's keep it as default with no courses, right? But if you move on and go to courses, here you can create a course right over here. Let's call it as data structures, and let's go with the code section, which is, let's say, CS001, and let's assign this course to an existing student, which is that of Javed. Let's save this thing, and again you can assign multiple, and you can even create a student over here. But for now I think I'm good to go, so let's save this thing, and that's it right over here. Okay, so now you can see over here that I'm having a course which is data structures, and CS001 is the course code, which is being assigned to a student. And if you click on this, you will be seeing the name of the student, which is Afaq Javed, right? And now the same thing will be reflected on our students collection, right? And here you can see that I'm having the name of Afaq Javed and the email. But for courses, I think you can go and just add that column. So let's select courses, and you can see that in courses we are having one item, which is the title of that course, right? So it is a many-to-many relationship on both sides, right? I can go into courses, and I can even assign multiple students to that same course, right? So let's create another student. Let's call it as this time Asad, and let's call it as Asad at the rate gmail.com. And I will be saving this thing right over here. And you can see that for now, Asad, there is no courses which are being allotted, but I can go and allot the same course to Asad as well, right? So let's go to courses. Let's edit this. And now, okay, not this one, but rather, click on the record for editing a single record. And this time I will be adding one extra student, which is this Asad one. And let's save this thing, and let's save this thing, and we are good to go, right? So now this data structured course has been assigned to two students, which are, I would say, Faq Javed and Asad. And same thing is being reflected over this students collection as well, right? So we are having Asad, and he has also selected one data structured course, right? And now from student side, you can also go and assign another course to any other individual, right? So let's create a extra course. And now let's call it as maybe operating systems for now, operating systems, and let's call it as CS002, and let's save this thing. Now this course, operating systems, has no students enrolled, right? But you can go and assign it, right? So if you go to students, and let's click on Asad, and I will be assigning an existing course, which is this operating system. Let's select this, save this, and we are good to go. Right now you can see that Asad is involved in two courses, right? Number one is data structures, and the second one is operating systems, right? And same thing will be reflected in our courses section over here, right? You can see that now data structure is being assigned by two students, and this operating system is being assigned by one student, which is Asad right over here. Okay, so Asad is involved in operating systems as well as in data structures right over here. You can see that. Okay, so that's how simple it is to create a many-to-many relationship in Directus by a simple use case, which was student and courses, right? So yeah, I think that's it from this video. And moving on, you can go and add some multiple columns if you really want to. You can display those columns, and you can create bookmarks, whatever you like. Have fun with Directus, right? But in the coming on section, we will be, I would say, starting with our very first project, where we would come in and we will build maybe a restaurant application, or maybe an e-commerce application, or maybe a learning management system. I will be finding out a use case in which we could go and build our backend first with all the schemas, all the relations, and we will try out first in our Directus Data Studio, and then we will go under the hood and use those REST endpoints and GraphQL endpoints provided by the directors, and we will create a separate front end, maybe in React, maybe in Next, or maybe in Svelte, depending on what I like, right? And then we will be using the same, I would say, REST APIs to integrate those, I would say, APIs with the front end, and we'll be building a maybe restaurant-based application or learning management system, or somewhat different, right? So might be a surprise for you guys, right? So yeah, that's it from the from this video. See you in the next video, right? Thanks for watching.